The following is a presentation of the National Thoroughbred Racing Association and ESPN.
You're watching Citgo's Kentucky Derby Week coverage on ESPN2.
All spring, the three-year-old colts have occupied racing spotlight, while the sophomore fillies have toiled in the shadows. But they too have a quest, today's $500,000 Kentucky Oaks. Throughout its history, the Oaks has sometimes reaffirmed lofty reputations.
Here's the finish of the Oaks. Open mind, another championship performance.
Featured epic battles between the best of the division.
Dispute is not done yet and has reclaimed the lead from the champion filly Eliza. Sardula, Lakeway in a battle of will to the wire. Here's the finish. It looks like Sardula gets it by a desperate head.
And been a star maker for previous unknowns.
Amiga and Chris McCarron getting up to win the 128 Kentucky Oaks.
Now comes Elo Love, currently ranked at the top of her division. But despite her status, the challengers abound, demanding more proof of her superiority. So, on this first Friday in May, while the colts enjoy another day of rest before the Derby, a bevy of talented fillies take center stage for their shining hour. It's the 129th edition of the Kentucky Oaks, and for some, the celebration awaits. ESPN's presentation of the Kentucky Oaks, presented by Visa, as we welcome you back to Churchill Downs, the spectacle of Kentucky Oaks Day. A huge crowd, always near six figures at the base of the Twin Spires, and as always, it's all about the lids. No self-respecting socialite or guy like that can be caught without two lids. You got to have a Derby hat and an Oaks hat. The big crowd is ready now for the main event, Kentucky Oaks number 129. We were on the roof of Churchill Downs, just to the left of the beautiful Twin Spires. So far, the rain has held off, the sun trying to peek through. I'm Chris Fowler. If you've been watching our coverage earlier on ESPN, welcome back. If you haven't, shame on you. But you've joined us just in time for the feature race. The Kentucky Oaks has it all. Tradition of a race going back to 1875, the great buzz and the atmosphere around here. And today, a very deep, balanced, competitive field. East meets west, the top three-year-old fillies. This is their Kentucky Derby, and for the winning connections, it's an unforgettable experience. Last year, the Brazilians partying in the winner's circle after Farda Amiga pulled the upset. They had the flag, they had the samba going. It was a special occasion. It'll be just like that for somebody within the next hour. The Oaks has a field of 12 three-year-old fillies, the distance unfamiliar to most of 1.1 miles. The track, fast and hard, real hard, too hard for some trainers. But it should play pretty fair. As always, Randy Moss is alongside. The man never leaves. He is tethered to this table. Randy, good to have you here. You talk about this, Oaks. It's hard not to get excited about this as a handicapper and just a fan.
It is, and you said it all when you said that the Kentucky Oaks is the Kentucky Derby for three-year-old fillies. I mean, and the way these horses are pointed for the Kentucky Oaks is very comparable to the way trainers point their three-year-old colts for the Kentucky Derby, and you can see sudden improvement, and you can see new division leaders out of it. I mean, you just look at last year in the Kentucky Derby. All right, nobody really gave War Emblem that much of a shot. He wins very impressively, runs the race of his life, winds up winning the Preakness. At the same time, Farda Amiga, also on an uphill track, you know, getting better and better and better with each race. She ran the race of her life here as well.
Well, there is a favorite, despite the fact that it's a deep field, and Elo Love is that favorite. Very accomplished filly. Dominant out in California, ridden by Robbie Alvarado. He's going right to the front. Why not? He's on the rail.
And Elo Love went wire to wire in her last start, the Ashland Stakes at Keeneland. Number 2 is My Boston Gal. Trainer Carl Navsger is supremely confident. Never heard him talking so confidently about a horse as My Boston Gal with Pat Day up at 4-1.
We'll talk about others in this field. Yell starting to get a lot of support, ridden by John Velasquez, the 6-horse here.
Yell, trained by Shug McGahee. He was also the trainer, of course, of another excellent 3-year-old filly named Storm Flag Flying, who didn't quite make it into this race. But Lady Tack has a great chance to win. She's only been beaten once in her career. That was by Yellow Love last time out. Jerry Bailey picks up the mount on her at 4-1.
All right, let's begin to break down this field, which many have called one of the great handicappers' fields here. We talked about L.O. Love and why not on form, but there are plenty of supporters for lots in this field.
For example, Lady Tack, the horse that we were just talking about, trained by Steve Asmussen. Lady Tack was so sensational at the fairgrounds when she won the Fairgrounds Oaks. And in that race, she did something a little different. She'd been showing early speed. They decided to take her back off the pace a little bit, and she responded beautifully. Even though she was beaten last time out by L.O. Love, she's got a good chance to turn the tables.
Very nice looking filly. I mean, she's hot. If you're a young colt, you look at that horse, that's a good looking filly.
And now we get a look at another one named My Boston Gal. This is Carl Nafsker's horse. Nafsker quoted in the Louisville Courier Journal earlier today as saying he's never been as confident about a race as he is this one. We'll see what happens.
We talked about the Ashland. Here is the connection. Even though Keeneland and Churchill Downs, different kind of tracks, often success of the Ashland has led to success here, but not necessarily. Take Charge Lady, the horse that was upset last year by Farda Amiga. Silver Bullet Day did pull off the double, the last to do it back in '99.
Silver Bullet Day, of course, a $3 million earner, and just indicative of the kind of horses you get in the Kentucky Oaks, the cream of the crop.
We talked about Lady Tack being one of the contenders. Hank Goldberg with her trainer.
Steve Asmussen joining us now. And Steve, your filly was 5 for 5. How did she take the defeat? Sometimes it's a negative thing going on.
Well, it can be. She's trained very nicely since the Ashland. Got her back here at Churchill Downs, where she was familiar from last fall. We feel really good how she's trained into it, but actually how she'll respond in a race. This is her first chance since her only defeat.
I know you're looking forward to the rematch with L.O. Love.
Well, no, we're looking for a chance to run well in the Kentucky Oaks. It's the marquee 3-year-old filly race, and we feel very good about our chances and fortunate to be here.
I was privileged to be at the fairgrounds when you won the Oaks, and this was just an awesome performance. Randy was talking about how he changed tactics for this race and how well she responded. Will she run this type of race today on this hard surface?
Well, she's a very intelligent filly, and we have Jerry Bailey riding her today in very capable hands, and I think that she'll handle very well for him and go wherever she needs to be.
How did you get to Bailey?
Well, because she's a quality filly. That makes it a little easier.
Okay. All right, thanks. Let's go back up to you guys now. Thank you.
And thank you, Hank. Yeah, Jerry doesn't ride anything but really quality horses, and he is exuding confidence about the chances of the 7-horse Lady Tack. I invite you to go on to ESPN.com to play the Citgo Pick 6 Challenge. This is a special edition. Tomorrow there'll be 5 undercard races, and oh, by the way, the 10th race will be included, the Kentucky Derby. When we come back to Churchill Downs, we count down to the Oaks, and we'll look ahead to Derby. There was a scratch for the Derby this morning. We'll tell you about it.
This ESPN2 presentation of the Kentucky Oaks is brought to you by Citgo. We know you. By Visa, proud sponsor of the Visa Triple Crown. By Budweiser, the best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. By Long John Silver's, dive into something new. By Kawasaki All-Terrain and Utility Vehicles. Kawasaki, let the good times roll. And by Diamond Cut Jeans. Try a pair. They just fit better.
Hello, ladies. Welcome back. Kentucky Oaks Day. We count down to post time of the featured race. Reminder that our coverage will continue. But after we're done here, got to stick around for the Handicapping the Derby show, which is coming up next. Randy, as always, and company will take their swing at Derby 129. Derby Day coverage begins bright and early here from Churchill Downs, 9 a.m. breakfast at Churchill Downs. Actually, that's late by racing standards. Today at the Derby is at noon. Our Kentucky Derby special at 2 o'clock. NBC Sports coverage comes on at 5 o'clock Eastern, 10 minute, of course, the highlight show after that. And one of these 16 now, 3-year-olds will be trying to end a 25-year Triple Crown drought. There have been so many near misses. 1973, there was also a 25-year Triple Crown drought until a horse named Secretariat came along. On the 30th anniversary of his Triple Crown, let's relive those great moments.
From the fields of Virginia to the heart of American sports history, Secretariat stamped himself a horse for the ages. 1973 simply belonged to Big Red. While a champion at 2, Secretariat cemented his place in history with a 3-race barnstorm the following spring. At the Kentucky Derby, he smashed the track record, introducing himself and owner Penny Chenery, then named Penny Tweedy, to the nation's masses. In Baltimore, young jockey Ron Turcotte put Secretariat's bravado on full display with a daring move on the first turn of the Preakness. The only question that remained was time. A clock malfunction would keep the Star Colt from his second track record in as many races. History waited at the wire of the Belmont Stakes 3 weeks later, and Secretariat was in a hurry to get there. 31 amazing lengths in front of his closest pursuer, Secretariat burned his image of greatness into the minds of everyone who saw him that day. Yet again, a track record performance. 30 years later, we commemorate a legendary racehorse. Those statues are built to salute greatness. Secretariat broke the mold.
If there's one name that the casual sports fan but not racing fan knows, is Secretariat, buried at Claiborne Farms. And I guess fans drop by regularly to put flowers on the grave.
Yeah, it's an amazing place, the Claiborne Farms Cemetery, and Secretariat, even in death, he's been dead quite a while now, is still a star attraction.
Well, no one's calling anyone in this year's Derby Secretariat just yet, but there is a strong favorite. We'll get to the news about Empire Maker in just a second. But if you missed our coverage earlier, there was a scratch this morning. Sir Cherokee, the 55-1 winner of the Arkansas Derby, scratching out. It's a minor injury, a fracture, which should keep him away from training for 3 or 4 months. But it's heartbreaking. A guy like Mike Tomlinson, the trainer, his voice was trembling this morning. This is his best and only chance so far in his career at a Derby horse. He doesn't get to ride, and of course all the connections devastated at this point.
If you're Bob Baffert, if you're Bobby Frankel, you can pretty much count that you'll be back next year or the year after that or the year after that with another Derby horse. The small-time guys, this can be a chance of a lifetime. It's especially devastating for them.
To see Mike, it reminds you it's more than a business to folks involved in thoroughbred racing. The Citco odds update. Check down there, take a scan of your favorite horse. This is the very early money and often does not at all reflect the way things are going to look.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Pat Day is very often the favorite, no matter who he rides, after the first day of wagering, because you have a lot of locals that dominate the betting pool here. And Pat Day is on 10 Most Wanted, who right now is 4-1. And look at him.
Can I get Empire Maker at 9-1? You think that'll hold up, Randy?
Very, very doubtful. But Empire Maker might wind up being a higher price than his 6-5 in the program, just because what's been going on all week.
Higher than 6-5, but certainly not at 9-1. We'll keep you posted on that. Empire Maker, all eyes were on the favorite as he came out. Bobby Frankel has been downplaying a foot bruise all along. Others have taken it more seriously, so they wanted to get a good look at him this morning when he came out there. In fact, you said there was a rush to the rail.
Yeah, we're going to take it chronologically. Tuesday, this is what the fuss was all about. He re-aggravated a foot bruise that he had suffered in the Wood Memorial. And you can see, I mean, he's noticeably limping. You don't have to be a veterinary expert, and that caused, obviously, as it should, a big buzz.
Well, for an explanation of that injury, that foot bruise, here's a comment from Dr. Ken Reed just a few days ago.
Basically, what we're dealing with is a small blood clot. The horse has a concussion on the ground, causes a little bit of seepage of blood, very similar to what would occur underneath your fingernail. If you hit your fingernail with a little hammer, you get a little blood underneath there, and it becomes very painful. So what happens is when he bruises, hits the ground hard enough, we get a little movement between the bone and the horny part of the foot. And when that moves, it causes a little hemorrhage. And it's as simple as that, and we get a very small blood clot or hemorrhage inside this. And as you can see how tight this is, there's absolutely no room for the blood in there. So the horse becomes sore. And what we're simply waiting for, not very simply, but hopefully that the body will just absorb this blood clot and remove the pain, and we'll be on our way.
Well, the question is he 100%? Will he be 100% after running 1 1/8 on this hard track and facing the last quarter mile? And is he good enough to win at less than 100%?
And now what Dr. Reed told us right after that interview is that this was done on Thursday, that interview. Now, how would he be when they took him out to the track this morning, Friday morning, for the gallop? That would tell a lot about Empire Maker's condition. And as you can see, he's hitting the ground infinitely better than you saw him when he came off the track Tuesday. He was even playful, as he often is. He was bearing out and causing all kind of havoc on the racetrack, which is an indication, as you see right there. There he goes to the outside rail. A lot of people were worried about this, but Bobby Frankel came off the racetrack smiling about it. I mean, I got to him as soon as Bobby Frankel walked off the track. He laughed and he said, did the same thing the day before the Florida Derby.
And he's known for being feisty, and it is a good sign, because if you're not feeling 100% physically, you're not going to do that, right?
Exactly right. I mean, if he would come out and he would kind of hang his head and act like he wasn't really into it, that would be a lot more cause for concern than when he's acting normally for him.
Well, let's bring in Hank Goldberg and see his impression of Empire Maker and how he looked this morning. Hank?
Well, essentially, he came out, kicked up his heels, and said to the crowd out there, "Leave my trainer alone. I'm fine." That's what Bobby told us a couple of days ago at the draw, and he was spunky enough that he's obviously feeling good this morning, and if he's the same way tomorrow, if there's anybody out there who wants to give me that 9-1, I'd be happy to sign up.
There would be a stampede to the window, Hank. Well, if you like Empire Maker, your work's not done. You have to go 1 through 16 to win the $5 million payday on KentuckyDerby.com. Hey, it's not going to be easy, but you got nothing to lose. It doesn't cost you anything.
Well, now there's a scratch. It's only 16.
Yeah.
It goes from being like 1 quintillion to 1 down to 1 quadrillion to 1. Big difference.
No problem. We will come back for Countdown to the Kentucky Oaks at Churchill Downs. Our coverage continues after this.